Genesis 21. Now the Lord attended to Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah what he had promised. So Sarah conceived and bore a son to Abraham in his old age, at the very time God had promised. And Abraham gave the name Isaac to the son Sarah bore to him. When his son Isaac was 8 days old, Abraham circumcised him as God had commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. Then Sarah said, God has made me laugh, and everyone who hears of this will laugh with me. She added, Who would have told Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? Yet I have borne him a son in his old age. So the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham held a great feast on the day Isaac was weaned. But Sarah saw that the son whom Hagar the Egyptian had borne to Abraham was mocking her son. And she said to Abraham, Expel the slave woman and her son, for the slave woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac. Now this matter distressed Abraham greatly, because it concerned his son Ishmael. But God said to Abraham, Do not be distressed about the boy and your maidservant. Listen to everything that Sarah tells you, for through Isaac your offspring will be reckoned. But I will also make a nation of the slave woman's son, because he is your offspring. Early in the morning, Abraham got up, took bread and a skin of water, put them on Hagar's shoulders, and sent her away with the boy. She left and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. When the water in the skin was gone, she left the boy under one of the bushes. Then she went off and sat down nearby, about a bow shot away. For she said, I cannot bear to watch the boy die. And as she sat nearby, she lifted up her voice and wept. Then God heard the voice of the boy. And the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven, What is wrong, Hagar? Do not be afraid, for God has heard the voice of the boy where he lies. Get up, lift up the boy, and take him by the hand, for I will make him into a great nation. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. So she went and filled the skin with water, and gave the boy a drink. And God was with the boy, and he grew up and settled in the wilderness, and became a great archer. And while he was dwelling in the wilderness of Paran, his mother got a wife for him from the land of Egypt. At that time Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, said to Abraham, God is with you in all that you do. Now therefore swear to me here before God, that you will not deal falsely with me or my children or descendants. Show to me and to the country in which you reside the same kindness that I have shown to you. And Abraham replied, I swear it. But when Abraham complained to Abimelech about a well that Abimelech's servants had seized, Abimelech replied, I do not know who has done this. You did not tell me, so I have not heard about it until today. So Abraham brought sheep and cattle and gave them to Abimelech, and the two men made a covenant. Abraham separated 7 ewe lambs from the flock, and Abimelech asked him, Why have you set apart these 7 ewe lambs? He replied, You are to accept the 7 ewe lambs from my hand as my witness that I dug this well. So that place was called Beersheba, because it was there that the two of them swore an oath. After they had made the covenant at Beersheba, Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, got up and returned to the land of the Philistines. And Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and there he called upon the name of the Lord, the eternal God. And Abraham resided in the land of the Philistines for a long time. Genesis 22. Some time later, God tested Abraham and said to him, Abraham. Here I am, he answered. Take your son, God said, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah. Offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains which I will show you. So Abraham got up early the next morning, saddled his donkey, and took along 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. He split the wood for a burnt offering and set out for the place God had designated. On the third day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. "Stay here with the donkey," Abraham told his servants. "The boy and I will go over there to worship, and then we will return to you." Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac. He himself carried the fire and the sacrificial knife, and the two of them walked on together. Then Isaac said to his father Abraham, "My father." "Here I am, my son," he replied. "The fire and the wood are here," said Isaac, "but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham answered, "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." And the two walked on together. When they arrived at the place God had designated, Abraham built the altar there and arranged the wood. He bound his son Isaac and placed him on the altar atop the wood. Then Abraham reached out his hand and took the knife to slaughter his son. Just then the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham." "Here I am," he replied. "Do not lay a hand on the boy or do anything to him," said the angel. "For now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your only son from me." Then Abraham looked up and saw behind him a ram in a thicket, caught by its horns. So he went and took the ram and offered it as a burnt offering in place of his son. And Abraham called that place, "The Lord will provide." So to this day it is said, "On the mountain of the Lord it will be provided." And the angel of the Lord called to Abraham from heaven a second time, saying, "By myself I have sworn, declares the Lord, that because you have done this, and have not withheld your only son, I will surely bless you, and I will multiply your descendants like the stars in the sky and the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will possess the gates of their enemies, and through your offspring all nations of the earth will be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice." Abraham went back to his servants, and they got up and set out together for Beersheba, and Abraham settled in Beersheba. Some time later, Abraham was told, "Milcah has also borne sons to your brother Nahor. Uz, the firstborn, his brother Buz, Kemuel, the father of Aram, Kesed, Hazo, Pildash, Jidlaph, and Bethuel. And Bethuel became the father of Rebekah. Milcah bore these 8 sons to Abraham's brother Nahor. Moreover, Nahor's concubine, whose name was Reumah, bore Tebah, Gaham, Tahash, and Maacah. Genesis 23. Now Sarah lived to be 127 years old. She died in Kiriath Arba, that is, Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham went out to mourn and to weep for her. Then Abraham got up from beside his dead wife, and said to the Hittites, "I am a foreigner and an outsider among you. Give me a burial site among you so that I can bury my dead." The Hittites replied to Abraham, "Listen to us, sir. You are God's chosen one among us. Bury your dead in the finest of our tombs. None of us will withhold his tomb for burying your dead." Then Abraham rose and bowed down before the people of the land, the Hittites. "If you are willing for me to bury my dead," he said to them, "listen to me and approach Ephron son of Zohar on my behalf, to sell me the cave of Machpelah that belongs to him. It is at the end of his field. Let him sell it to me in your presence for full price, so that I may have a burial site." Now Ephron was sitting among the sons of Heth. So in the presence of all the Hittites who had come to the gate of his city, Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham, "No, my lord, listen to me. I give you the field, and I give you the cave that is in it. I give it to you in the presence of my people. Bury your dead." Again Abraham bowed down before the people of the land, and said to Ephron in their presence, "If you will please listen to me, I will pay you the price of the field. Accept it from me, so that I may bury my dead there." Ephron answered Abraham, "Listen to me, my lord. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. But what is that between you and me? Bury your dead." Abraham agreed to Ephron's terms and weighed out for him the price he had named in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 shekels of silver, according to the standard of the merchants. So Ephron's field at Machpelah near Mamre, the cave that was in it, and all the trees within the boundaries of the field were deeded over to Abraham's possession in the presence of all the Hittites who had come to the gate of his city. After this, Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the cave of the field at Machpelah near Mamre, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. So the field and its cave were deeded by the Hittites to Abraham as a burial site. Genesis 24. By now Abraham was old and well along in years, and the Lord had blessed him in every way. So Abraham instructed the chief servant of his household, who managed all he owned, "Place your hand under my thigh, and I will have you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I am dwelling, but will go to my country and my kindred to take a wife for my son Isaac." The servant asked him, "What if the woman is unwilling to follow me to this land? Shall I then take your son back to the land from which you came?" Abraham replied, "Make sure that you do not take my son back there. The Lord, the God of heaven, who brought me from my father's house and my native land, who spoke to me and promised me on oath, saying, 'To your offspring I will give this land,' he will send his angel before you, so that you can take a wife for my son from there. And if the woman is unwilling to follow you, then you are released from this oath of mine. Only do not take my son back there." So the servant placed his hand under the thigh of his master Abraham, and swore an oath to him concerning this matter. Then the servant took 10 of his master's camels, and departed with all manner of good things from his master in hand. And he set out for Nahor's hometown in Aram Naharaim. As evening approached, he made the camels kneel down near the well outside the town, at the time when the women went out to draw water. "O Lord God of my master Abraham," he prayed, "please grant me success today, and show kindness to my master Abraham. Here I am, standing beside the spring, and the daughters of the townspeople are coming out to draw water. Now may it happen that the girl to whom I say, 'Please let down your jar that I may drink,' and who responds, 'Drink, and I will water your camels as well,' let her be the one you have appointed for your servant Isaac. By this I will know that you have shown kindness to my master." Before the servant had finished praying, Rebekah came out with her jar on her shoulder. She was the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor. Now the girl was very beautiful, a virgin who had not had relations with any man. She went down to the spring, filled her jar, and came up again. So the servant ran to meet her and said, "Please let me have a little water from your jar." "Drink, my lord," she replied, and she quickly lowered her jar to her hands and gave him a drink. After she had given him a drink, she said, "I will also draw water for your camels until they have had enough to drink." And she quickly emptied her jar into the trough and ran back to the well to draw water, until she had drawn water for all his camels. Meanwhile, the man watched her silently to see whether or not the Lord had made his journey a success. And after the camels had finished drinking, he took out a gold ring weighing a beka, and 2 gold bracelets for her wrists weighing 10 shekels. "Whose daughter are you?" he asked. "Please tell me, is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night?" She replied, "I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son that Milcah bore to Nahor." Then she added, "We have plenty of straw and feed, as well as a place for you to spend the night." Then the man bowed down and worshipped the Lord, saying, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not withheld his kindness and faithfulness from my master. As for me, the Lord has led me on the journey to the house of my master's relatives." The girl ran and told her mother's household about these things. Now Rebekah had a brother named Laban, and he rushed out to the man at the spring. As soon as he saw the ring and the bracelets on his sister's wrists, and heard Rebekah's words, the man said this to me. He went and found the man standing by the camels near the spring. Come, you who are blessed by the Lord, said Laban. Why are you standing out here? I have prepared the house and a place for the camels. So the man came to the house, and the camels were unloaded. Straw and feed were brought to the camels, and water to wash his feet and the feet of his companions. Then a meal was set before the man. But he said, I will not eat until I have told you what I came to say. So Laban said, Please speak. I am Abraham's servant, he replied. The Lord has greatly blessed my master, and he has become rich. He has given him sheep and cattle, silver and gold, men servants and maidservants, camels and donkeys. My master's wife Sarah has borne him a son in her old age, and my master has given him everything he owns. My master made me swear an oath and said, You shall not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites in whose land I dwell, but you shall go to my father's house and to my kindred to take a wife for my son. Then I asked my master, What if the woman will not come back with me? And he told me, The Lord before whom I have walked will send his angel with you and make your journey a success, so that you may take a wife for my son from my kindred and from my father's house. And when you go to my kindred, if they refuse to give her to you, then you will be released from my oath. So when I came to the spring today, I prayed, O Lord, God of my master Abraham, if only you would make my journey a success. Here I am, standing beside this spring. Now if a maiden comes out to draw water, and I say to her, Please let me drink a little water from your jar, and she replies, Drink, and I will draw water for your camels as well. May she be the woman the Lord has appointed for my master's son. And before I had finished praying in my heart, there was Rebekah coming out with her jar on her shoulder. And she went down to the spring and drew water. So I said to her, Please give me a drink. She quickly lowered her jar from her shoulder and said, Drink, and I will water your camels as well. So I drank, and she also watered the camels. Then I asked her, Whose daughter are you? She replied, The daughter of Bethuel, son of Nahor, whom Milcah bore to him. So I put the ring on her nose and the bracelets on her wrists. Then I bowed down and worshipped the Lord, and I blessed the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who led me on the right road to take the granddaughter of my master's brother for his son. Now if you will show kindness and faithfulness to my master, tell me. But if not, let me know, so that I may go elsewhere. Laban and Bethuel answered, This is from the Lord. We have no choice in the matter. Rebekah is here before you. Take her and go, and let her become the wife of your master's son, just as the Lord has decreed. When Abraham's servant heard their words, he bowed down to the ground before the Lord. Then he brought out jewels of silver and gold and articles of clothing, and he gave them to Rebekah. He also gave precious gifts to her brother and her mother. Then he and the men with him ate and drank and spent the night there. When they got up the next morning, he said, Send me on my way to my master. But her brother and mother said, Let the girl remain with us 10 days or so. After that she may go. But he replied, Do not delay me, since the Lord has made my journey a success. Send me on my way, so that I may go to my master. So they said, We will call the girl and ask her opinion. They called Rebekah and asked her, Will you go with this man? I will go, she replied. So they sent their sister Rebekah on her way, along with her nurse and Abraham's servant and his men. And they blessed Rebekah and said to her, Our sister, may you become the mother of thousands upon thousands. May your offspring possess the gates of their enemies. Then Rebekah and her servant girls got ready, mounted the camels, and followed the man. So the servant took Rebekah and left. Now Isaac had just returned from Beer-lahai-roi, for he was living in the Negev. Early in the evening, Isaac went out to the field to meditate, and looking up, he saw the camels approaching. And when Rebekah looked up and saw Isaac, she got down from her camel and asked the servant, "Who is that man in the field coming to meet us?" "It is my master," the servant answered. So she took her veil and covered herself. Then the servant told Isaac all that he had done. And Isaac brought her into the tent of his mother Sarah, and took Rebekah as his wife. And Isaac loved her, and was comforted after his mother's death. Genesis 25. Now Abraham had taken another wife, named Keturah, and she bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan, and the sons of Dedan were the Asherites, the Letusites, and the Leumites. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Aldeah. All these were descendants of Keturah. Abraham left everything he owned to Isaac. But while he was still alive, Abraham gave gifts to the sons of his concubines, and sent them away from his son Isaac to the land of the east. Abraham lived a total of 175 years, and at a ripe old age he breathed his last and died, old and contented, and was gathered to his people. His sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah near Mamre, in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar the Hittite. This was the field that Abraham had bought from the Hittites. Abraham was buried there with his wife Sarah. After Abraham's death, God blessed his son Isaac, who lived near Beer Lahai-roi. This is the account of Abraham's son Ishmael, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's maidservant, bore to Abraham. These are the names of the sons of Ishmael in the order of their birth: Nebaioth, the firstborn of Ishmael, then Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jeter, Naphish, and Kedemah. These were the sons of Ishmael, and these were their names by their villages and encampments, 12 princes of their tribes. Ishmael lived a total of 137 years. Then he breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people. Ishmael's descendants settled from Havilah to Shur, which is near the border of Egypt as you go toward Ashur. And they lived in hostility toward all their brothers. This is the account of Abraham's son Isaac. Abraham became the father of Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel the Aramean from Padan Aram, and the sister of Laban the Aramean. Later, Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife, because she was barren. And the Lord heard his prayer, and his wife Rebekah conceived. But the children inside her struggled with each other, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" So Rebekah went to inquire of the Lord, and he declared to her, "2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." When her time came to give birth, there were indeed twins in her womb. The first one came out red, covered with hair like a fur coat, so they named him Esau. After this, his brother came out grasping Esau's heel, so he was named Jacob. And Isaac was 60 years old when the twins were born. When the boys grew up, Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the field, while Jacob was a quiet man who stayed at home. Because Isaac had a taste for wild game, he loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. One day, while Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the field and was famished. He said to Jacob, "Let me eat some of that red stew, for I am famished." That is why he was also called Edom. "First, sell me your birthright," Jacob replied. "Look," said Esau, "I am about to die, so what good is a birthright to me?" "Swear to me first," Jacob said. So Esau swore to Jacob and sold him the birthright. Then Jacob gave some bread and lentil stew to Esau, who ate and drank, and then got up and went away. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Genesis 26. Now there was another famine in the land, subsequent to the one that had occurred in Abraham's time. And Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, at Gerar. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Settle in the land where I tell you. Stay in this land as a foreigner, and I will be with you and bless you. For I will give all these lands to you and your offspring, and I will confirm the oath that I swore to your father Abraham. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and I will give them all these lands. And through your offspring all nations of the earth will be blessed, because Abraham listened to my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws." So Isaac settled in Gerar. But when the men of that place asked about his wife, he said, "She is my sister." For he was afraid to say, "She is my wife," since he thought to himself, "The men of this place will kill me on account of Rebekah, because she is so beautiful." When Isaac had been there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked down from the window and was surprised to see Isaac caressing his wife Rebekah. Abimelech sent for Isaac and said, "So she is really your wife? How could you say she is my sister?" Isaac replied, "Because I thought I might die on account of her." "What is this you have done to us?" asked Abimelech. "One of the people could easily have slept with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us." So Abimelech warned all the people, saying, "Whoever harms this man or his wife will surely be put to death." Now Isaac sowed seed in the land, and that very year he reaped 100-fold. And the Lord blessed him, and he became richer and richer, until he was exceedingly wealthy. He owned so many flocks and herds and servants that the Philistines envied him. So the Philistines took dirt and stopped up all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the days of his father Abraham. Then Abimelech said to Isaac, "Depart from us, for you are much too powerful for us." So Isaac left that place and encamped in the valley of Gerar and settled there. Isaac reopened the wells that had been dug in the days of his father Abraham, which the Philistines had stopped up after Abraham died. And he gave these wells the same names his father had given them. Then Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found a well of fresh water there. But the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen and said, "The water is ours." So he named the well Esek, because they contended with him. Then they dug another well and quarreled over that one also, so he named it Sitnah. He moved on from there and dug another well, and they did not quarrel over it. He named it Rehoboth, and said, "At last the Lord has made room for us, and we will be fruitful in the land." From there Isaac went up to Beersheba, and that night the Lord appeared to him, and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bless you and multiply your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham." So Isaac built an altar there, and called on the name of the Lord, and he pitched his tent there. His servants also dug a well there. Later Abimelech came to Isaac from Gerar with Ahuzah his advisor, and Phicol the commander of his army. "Why have you come to me?" Isaac asked them. "You hated me and sent me away." "We can plainly see that the Lord has been with you," they replied. "We recommend that there should now be an oath between us and you. Let us make a covenant with you, that you will not harm us, just as we have not harmed you, but have done only good to you, sending you on your way in peace. And now you are blessed by the Lord." So Isaac prepared a feast for them, and they ate and drank. And they got up early the next morning and swore an oath to each other. Then Isaac sent them on their way, and they left him in peace. On that same day, Isaac's servants came and told him about the well they had dug. "We have found water," they told him. So he called it Shibah, and to this day the name of the city is Beersheba. When Esau was 40 years old, he took as his wives Judith, daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Basemath, daughter of Elon the Hittite. And they brought grief to Isaac and Rebekah. Genesis 27. When Isaac was old, and his eyes were so weak that he could no longer see, he called his older son Esau, and said to him, "My son." "Here I am," Esau replied. "Look," said Isaac, "I am now old, and I do not know the day of my death. Take your weapons, your quiver and bow, and go out into the field to hunt some game for me. Then prepare a tasty dish that I love, and bring it to me to eat, so that I may bless you before I die." Now Rebekah was listening to what Isaac told his son Esau. So when Esau went into the field to hunt game and bring it back, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "Behold, I overheard your father saying to your brother Esau, 'Bring me some game and prepare me a tasty dish to eat, so that I may bless you in the presence of the Lord before I die.' Now, my son, listen to my voice and do exactly as I tell you. Go out to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, so that I can make them into a tasty dish for your father, the kind he loves. Then take it to your father to eat, so that he may bless you before he dies." Jacob answered his mother Rebekah, "Look, my brother Esau is a hairy man, but I am smooth-skinned. What if my father touches me? Then I would be revealed to him as a deceiver, and I would bring upon myself a curse rather than a blessing." His mother replied, "Your curse be on me, my son. Just obey my voice and go get them for me." So Jacob went and got 2 goats and brought them to his mother, who made the tasty food his father loved. And Rebekah took the finest clothes in the house that belonged to her older son Esau, and she put them on her younger son Jacob. She also put the skins of the young goats on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. Then she handed her son Jacob the tasty food and bread she had made. So Jacob went to his father and said, "My father." "Here I am," he answered. "Which one are you, my son?" Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game, so that you may bless me." But Isaac asked his son, "How did you ever find it so quickly, my son?" "Because the Lord your God brought it to me," he replied. Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Please come closer so I can touch you, my son. Are you really my son Esau or not?" So Jacob came close to his father Isaac, who touched him and said, "The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau." Isaac did not recognize him because his hands were hairy, like those of his brother Esau. So he blessed him. Again he asked, "Are you really my son Esau?" And he replied, "I am." "Serve me," said Isaac, "and let me eat some of my son's game, so that I may bless you." Jacob brought it to him, and he ate. Then he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Please come near and kiss me, my son." So he came near and kissed him. When Isaac smelled his clothing, he blessed him and said, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give to you the dew of heaven and the richness of the earth, an abundance of grain and new wine. May peoples serve you and nations bow down to you. May you be the master of your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed." As soon as Isaac had finished blessing him, and Jacob had left his father's presence, his brother Esau returned from the hunt. He too made some tasty food, brought it to his father, and said to him, "My father, sit up and eat of your son's game, so that you may bless me." But his father Isaac replied, "Who are you?" "I am Esau, your firstborn son," he answered. Isaac began to tremble violently and said, "Who was it then who hunted the game and brought it to me? Before you came in, I ate it all and blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed." When Esau heard his father's words, he let out a loud and bitter cry, and said to his father, "Bless me too, O my father." But Isaac replied, "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing." So Esau declared, "Is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has cheated me twice. He took my birthright, and now he has taken my blessing." Then he asked, "Haven't you saved a blessing for me?" But Isaac answered Esau, "Look, I have made him your master, and given him all his relatives as servants. I have sustained him with grain and new wine. What is left that I can do for you, my son?" Esau said to his father, "Do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, O my father." Then Esau wept aloud. His father Isaac answered him, "Behold, your dwelling place shall be away from the richness of the land, away from the dew of heaven above. You shall live by the sword and serve your brother. But when you rebel, you will tear his yoke from your neck." Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him. And Esau said in his heart, "The days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then I will kill my brother Jacob." When the words of her older son Esau were relayed to Rebekah, she sent for her younger son Jacob and told him, "Look, your brother Esau is consoling himself by plotting to kill you. So now, my son, obey my voice and flee at once to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay with him for a while until your brother's fury subsides, until your brother's rage against you wanes, and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send for you and bring you back from there. Why should I lose both of you in one day?" Then Rebekah said to Isaac, "I am weary of my life because of these Hittite women. If Jacob takes a Hittite wife from among them, what good is my life?" Genesis 28. So Isaac called for Jacob and blessed him. "Do not take a wife from the Canaanite women," he commanded. "Go at once to Padan Aram, to the house of your mother's father Bethuel, and take a wife from among the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you, so that you may become a company of peoples. And may he give the blessing of Abraham to you and your descendants, so that you may possess the land where you dwell as a foreigner, the land God gave to Abraham." So Isaac sent Jacob to Padan Aram, to Laban the son of Bethuel the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, who was the mother of Jacob and Esau. Now Esau learned that Isaac had blessed Jacob, and sent him to Padan Aram to take a wife there, commanding him, "Do not marry a Canaanite woman," and that Jacob had obeyed his father and mother and gone to Padan Aram. And seeing that his father Isaac disapproved of the Canaanite women, Esau went to Ishmael and married Mahalath, the sister of Nebaioth, and daughter of Abraham's son Ishmael, in addition to the wives he already had. Meanwhile, Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. On reaching a certain place, he spent the night there because the sun had set. And taking one of the stones from that place, he put it under his head and lay down to sleep. And Jacob had a dream about a ladder that rested on the earth, with its top reaching up to heaven. And God's angels were going up and down the ladder. And there at the top, the Lord was standing, and saying, "I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the land on which you now lie. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and east and north and south. All the families of the earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. Look, I am with you, and I will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. For I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you." When Jacob woke up, he thought, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I was unaware of it." And he was afraid, and said, "How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven." Early the next morning, Jacob took the stone that he had placed under his head, and he set it up as a pillar. He poured oil on top of it, and he called that place Bethel, though previously the city had been named Luz. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, "If God will be with me, and watch over me on this journey, and if he will provide me with food to eat and clothes to wear, so that I may return safely to my father's house. Then the Lord will be my God. And this stone I have set up as a pillar will be God's house, and of all that you give me, I will surely give you a tenth. Genesis 29. Jacob resumed his journey and came to the land of the people of the east. He looked and saw a well in the field, and near it lay 3 flocks of sheep, because the sheep were watered from this well. And a large stone covered the mouth of the well. When all the flocks had been gathered there, the shepherds would roll away the stone from the mouth of the well and water the sheep. Then they would return the stone to its place over the mouth of the well. "My brothers," Jacob asked the shepherds, "where are you from?" "We are from Haran," they answered. "Do you know Laban, the grandson of Nahor?" Jacob asked. "We know him," they replied. "Is he well?" Jacob inquired. "Yes," they answered, "and here comes his daughter Rachel with his sheep." "Look," said Jacob, "it is still broad daylight. It is not yet time to gather the livestock. Water the sheep and take them back to pasture." But they replied, "We cannot until all the flocks have been gathered and the stone has been rolled away from the mouth of the well. Then we will water the sheep." While he was still speaking with them, Rachel arrived with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. As soon as Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of his mother's brother Laban, with Laban's sheep, he went up and rolled the stone away from the mouth of the well and watered his uncle's sheep. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and wept aloud. He told Rachel that he was Rebekah's son, a relative of her father, and she ran and told her father. When Laban heard the news about his sister's son Jacob, he ran out to meet him. He embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his home, where Jacob told him all that had happened. Then Laban declared, "You are indeed my own flesh and blood." After Jacob had stayed with him a month, Laban said to him, "Just because you are my relative, should you work for nothing? Tell me what your wages should be." Now Laban had 2 daughters. The older was named Leah, and the younger was named Rachel. Leah had weak eyes, but Rachel was shapely and beautiful. Since Jacob loved Rachel, he answered, "I will serve you 7 years for your younger daughter Rachel." Laban replied, "Better that I give her to you than to another. Stay here with me." So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, yet it seemed but a few days because of his love for her. Finally Jacob said to Laban, "Grant me my wife, for my time is complete, and I want to sleep with her." So Laban invited all the men of that place and prepared a feast. But when evening came, Laban took his daughter Leah and gave her to Jacob, and he slept with her. And Laban gave his servant girl Zilpah to his daughter Leah as her maidservant. When morning came, there was Leah. "What have you done to me?" Jacob said to Laban. "Wasn't it for Rachel that I served you? Why have you deceived me?" Laban replied, "It is not our custom here to give the younger daughter in marriage before the older. Finish this week's celebration, and we will give you the younger one in return for another 7 years of work." And Jacob did just that. He finished the week's celebration, and Laban gave him his daughter Rachel as his wife. Laban also gave his servant girl Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as her maidservant. Jacob slept with Rachel as well, and indeed he loved Rachel more than Leah. So he worked for Laban another 7 years. When the Lord saw that Leah was unloved, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and gave birth to a son, and she named him Reuben, for she said, "The Lord has seen my affliction. Surely my husband will love me now." Again she conceived and gave birth to a son, and she said, "Because the Lord has heard that I am unloved, he has given me this son as well." So she named him Simeon. Once again Leah conceived and gave birth to a son, and she said, "Now at last my husband will become attached to me, because I have borne him 3 sons." So he was named Levi. And once more she conceived and gave birth to a son, and said, "This time I will praise the Lord." So she named him Judah. Then Leah stopped having children. Genesis 30. When Rachel saw that she was not bearing any children for Jacob, she envied her sister. "Give me children, or I will die," she said to Jacob. Jacob became angry with Rachel and said, "Am I in the place of God, who has withheld children from you?" Then she said, "Here is my maidservant Bilhah. Sleep with her, that she may bear children for me, so that through her I too can build a family." So Rachel gave Jacob her servant Bilhah as a wife, and he slept with her, and Bilhah conceived and bore him a son. Then Rachel said, "God has vindicated me. He has heard my plea and given me a son." So she named him Dan. And Rachel's servant Bilhah conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said, "In my great struggles I have wrestled with my sister and won." So she named him Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had stopped having children, she gave her servant Zilpah to Jacob as a wife. And Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said, "How fortunate!" So she named him Gad. When Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a second son, Leah said, "How happy I am, for the women call me happy." So she named him Asher. Now during the wheat harvest, Reuben went out and found some mandrakes in the field. When he brought them to his mother, Rachel begged Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." But Leah replied, "Is it not enough that you have taken away my husband? Now you want to take my son's mandrakes as well?" "Very well," said Rachel. "He may sleep with you tonight in exchange for your son's mandrakes." When Jacob came in from the field that evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, "You must come with me, for I have hired you with my son's mandrakes." So he slept with her that night. And God listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore a fifth son to Jacob. Then Leah said, "God has rewarded me for giving my maidservant to my husband." So she named him Issachar. Again Leah conceived and bore a sixth son to Jacob. "God has given me a good gift," she said. "This time my husband will honor me, because I have borne him 6 sons." And she named him Zebulun. After that, Leah gave birth to a daughter, and named her Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel. He listened to her and opened her womb, and she conceived and gave birth to a son. "God has taken away my shame," she said. She named him Joseph, and said, "May the Lord add to me another son." Now after Rachel had given birth to Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, "Send me on my way, so I can return to my homeland. Give me my wives and children for whom I have served you, that I may go on my way. You know how hard I have worked for you." But Laban replied, "If I have found favor in your eyes, please stay. I have learned by divination that the Lord has blessed me because of you." And he added, "Name your wages, and I will pay them." Then Jacob answered, "You know how I have served you, and how your livestock have thrived under my care. Indeed, you had very little before my arrival, but now your wealth has increased many times over. The Lord has blessed you wherever I set foot. But now, when may I also provide for my own household?" "What can I give you?" Laban asked. "You do not need to give me anything," Jacob replied. "If you do this one thing for me, I will keep on shepherding and keeping your flocks. Let me go through all your flocks today, and remove from them every speckled or spotted sheep, every dark-colored lamb, and every spotted or speckled goat. These will be my wages. So my honesty will testify for me when you come to check on my wages in the future. If I have any goats that are not speckled or spotted, or any lambs that are not dark-colored, they will be considered stolen." "Agreed," said Laban. "Let it be as you have said." That very day Laban removed all the streaked or spotted male goats, and every speckled or spotted female goat, every one that had any white on it, and every dark-colored lamb, and he placed them under the care of his sons. Then he put a 3-day journey between himself and Jacob, while Jacob was shepherding the rest of Laban's flocks. Jacob, however, took fresh branches of poplar, almond, and plane trees, and peeled the bark, exposing the white inner wood of the branches. Then he set the peeled branches in the watering troughs in front of the flocks coming in to drink. So when the flocks were in heat and came to drink, they mated in front of the branches, and they bore young that were streaked or speckled or spotted. Jacob set apart the young, but made the rest face the streaked, dark-colored sheep in Laban's flocks. Then he set his own stock apart, and did not put them with Laban's animals. Whenever the stronger females of the flock were in heat, Jacob would place the branches in the troughs, in full view of the animals, so that they would breed in front of the branches. But if the animals were weak, he did not set out the branches. So the weaker animals went to Laban, and the stronger ones to Jacob. Thus Jacob became exceedingly prosperous. He owned large flocks, maidservants and menservants, and camels and donkeys.